So whether you're working on very small items like this or some of the bigger things, the one thing you always have to consider is the weight of the wood. Well, today what I want to do is take this carving of Odysseus, which I did a couple of years ago, and I hadn't gotten around to evacuating some of the wood that's inside, which makes it so heavy. So what I want to do is cut this cap off here. I want to take this whole cap off, and then I can get to the inside and actually start using a cable and a burr to start evacuating some of the wood that's in there to reduce the weight. So once I've done that, then I'll put it back together again and then do the final finish on it. Safety glasses go on, and if I'm ready to go, well, now that I've hollowed out the cap and the head, which contained about 80% of the weight of this piece, I can now rejoin the pieces. It's with steel pins, and I'll do some sketching here. I've already got some holes designated on at least two on top, maybe this one over here. So it's in the middle of the span, so it's a 1/2 inch, almost 9/16 of an inch thickness here, maybe a little bit over there. I could probably thin that down a little bit more. So I've got two on top, and I'll have two on the bottom. And finally, maybe one in the middle here. Nice and tight, looks good. So now what I'll need to do is mix up a slurry of wood dust from the grinding that I've done inside. So here I've got a collection of dust that I've saved of this particular wood, which is a Rocco. It looks like I'll need quite a lot of it. And what I want to do basically is mix the glue with it, putting the two halves together. I think I'll go ahead and concentrate on the part that needs to be glued first. And I'll putty that in, making sure I get the pins also. Now what will happen is when I squeeze these two together, there will be a lot of squeeze out, which I'll wipe away, but it will also fill the cracks and crevices that might have formed from the sawing the two apart. Oop, pick that up. All right, almost there. All right, now I've done a pretty good job lathering all this on here. Make sure I get good coverage. Wipe away some of the excess. Now I do have a gap in this part over here that I might as well go ahead and fill at the same time. Alright, that's covered. I also have a crack in here. I think I'll go ahead and fill that. For that crack, I want it a little bit more liquid so it flows in there a little bit easier. That's good. I'll do that from the inside and outside so that it fills the crack from both sides. Not bad. Okay. I've got a crack running the full length of this head here, so I think I'm going to fill that as well. I'll wipe away some of the excess. That's nice and filled. All right. Now, I think I'm ready to put the cap on. Now on this side, I'm going to go ahead and wet this with the glue. And I want to fill those holes as well. All right, that's probably enough. I'll go ahead and smooth that out. Now in some cases I'll just use glue, but for this one, because of the rough saw cut that I did earlier to get the two pieces apart, there are a lot of teeth marks and a lot of gaps that I want to fill. Looking good. All right, we're almost there. Now, of course, if I squeeze the two together, there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out of the joints. But what I'm hoping is that all the gaps will be filled and all the cracks will be filled. All right, I think I've got it here. Now I'm going to line up the two edges. Somewhere in here, there is a nice, there we go. All right, as you can see, there's a lot of squeeze out, which is exactly what I was expecting. And I'm going to go ahead and do my first wipe. I don't want to wipe all of it away, I just want to smooth a little bit of it. Take off the excess. Now I do have a crack running up the side of this, so I think I'll go ahead and wipe that through that area. And it looks like I've got a crack, a micro fracture up here, so I'll fill that. Now at this point, all I want to do is get some pressure on it. Let me get that wiped off. All right, let me pull some of this off. too bad. This can all be sanded off later. I don't want to take so much off that I have to go back and refill it. So let me go ahead and make sure that all this has enough to sand later on. Oh, looks like I missed a little bit back here. A little bit more in the back. Yep, looks good here. And I'm just touching it now to see if I have a good joint. Looks like I do. All right. Front looks good. Adding a little bit of paste where it's a little bit shallow. Okay, now I think what I want to do now is clamp it. I think this is about the right size. All right, let's see if I can tighten this up a little bit. All right, cap has been glued back on. I can go ahead and do the final sanding and decide what kind of finish I want on it. But first I've got to get that done. I've got to fix any defects in the maybe the cracking that might still be there, but I think most of the cracks have been filled, and the cap has a pretty good fit on here. So now it's just leveling it off and making it look like it's a unit again. And at this point I'm going to cut away a little bit and do some final grinding and sanding, and we'll get back to it in a few minutes. Go back to that rasp. The rasp does the rough cutting. And then I'll go back with the 80 grit paper and work to 100 and maybe 120 and probably stop at 150. I think we'll do some hand sanding, and that should do it. Got a little indent up. Well, that's a pretty good start to a good finish. Got a little bit of glue down here. Let's see if I can get rid of that. Now I'll do any in-carving that I want to do and detailing in the hair. I think the eyes are probably close to what they need to be. I think the eyes are probably okay, although I might put pupils in there. Nose is pretty good. I do have a micro crack up here in the forehead. I should probably fill that. However, that's not really important because I do want this to look like an antique when I finish. And I think I'm halfway there. A lot of work, but I think it'll be worth the effort. I've achieved what I wanted to achieve. I've gotten rid of the excess weight. It's now much lighter than it was. And now I can think about the final finish and then putting it on the final display stand. So if you've enjoyed watching this video, hit the like button, share it with your friends, and remember, keep your spirits high and your tools sharp. And we'll see you in the next video.